Hey addicts, welcome back. We are here again with Danmachi. We're here for Season 3's Episode 7 titled Dreams of Beast. Now unfortunately, as you can see, again, Michael is not with me, sadly, so I will be doing this one solo again. I got a quick message real quick before we start the video. Give me 2 seconds here. So we do have part 1 of the Freya review. It's essentially one video that's just the review up if you want to go check out the Freya novel. But we will have the spoiler discussion video of Freya and speculation for Volume 15 up as soon as we can. I'm waiting for Michael to get out of quarantine, and then we're going to tackle that. But without that little notification there in mid-video, let's jump in. So this is a video that I'll be honest, I saw it earlier in the day, and I took almost the whole day to kind of sit back and reflect on it, and I really don't have an opinion change. I think not having Michael here is probably a good and a bad thing, because it's a good thing because I feel like if he shared my opinion, it probably would be too negative of a video, and if he was typically like as he is, kind of differs me a little bit on his enjoyment level, then it might have helped. But needless to say, this was not a bad episode by any means, but it was probably the most disappointing anime episode I've seen since I've watched the Ari Fred anime adaptation, which I know is very harsh words, right? Because that series was trash, but well, at least the anime adaptation of it, right? This one, it does hit on and does good in parts of the episode. So I guess while we're talking about those, we can highlight, like kind of what happened in the episode in case you haven't seen it, or it's been it's been a day since it came out. Well, needless to say, some people need the refresher. So the start of the episode is kind of still taking up in the conflict that we left off in the last episode, right, with the Xenos still under the curse effects of addicts. There is a couple of good moments at the start of this episode, like I mentioned. You get to see Fells using his like thunderclap shockwave gauntlets in the background, and a little bit more showcased probably in the next episode. But I do like that because that's one part of Fells, at least when you first see him in action, it's like, oh yeah, go get him, Fells. But then we also start with the Bell versus Dix fight, which this is where it started to leave a little bit of worrisome thoughts come into mind, because right at the start, there is some moments that land really well or that are showcased good. For instance, the moments that we get of Dix talking about his status is lowered, because we did get mentioned that he was a level 5, and I had to double check that on the fandom because I was thinking it was level 4, but no, it was level 5. So this means with the curse effect, or in effect, his status has been bumped down to level 4, which still puts him almost a full level, if not a full level, above Bell. So there is some moments during the fight that I think, on one hand, because he's like a full level above Bell, and one level is a big difference in the Danmachi universe, it's sort of showcased well because of just the power difference he has up on Bell. But at the same time, I feel like there was a couple moments in the in the animation where it's like really like for instance, a little bit earlier in the episode, but still kind of like I guess in the middle of their fight, there is some of this exposition that I did like that we got hinted at from Dix, where he's telling this information and having a conversation with Bell just standing there, and I feel like because of all the information Bell already knows, he would at least still be fighting him, and I feel like there should be kind of this melee going on as they're talking. I feel like that would have just been better, because in my mind, I could be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure in the book, they're fighting as all of this is happening. So even if it's like, they step back and they're like getting a breather and then they go right back in, I don't know. It's always silly to me when I see, just standing in the midst of characters that already have enough reason to tear each other apart. But, I don't think it's too bad in that, you kind of have some leeway because that's kind of like an anime staple, right? But the one thing that kind of irks me a little bit is And again, you can toss this up and justify it that it's because there's such a level difference. But you know, it almost, if I may compare it to like a video game, right? So like if you have like an action game like God of War, for instance, right? You expect those fluid animations, you know, the combos, everything working really cohesively and looking just mwah, right? Versus like, you know, if you played Skyrim, you know, I get that they're older games, but you know, it's an RPG. It's not really, you know, that focused on pushing the boundaries of its combat, right? And how it operates. And so you'll just see like the simple, like this kind of attack, right? And there's a lot of moments between Bell and Dix's fight in this episode that are exactly like that. And I don't know, to me, it just, maybe I have a just very, like the minority opinion here, but to me that just kills my hype, especially when they throw in the mix of cuts, like to edit the fighting together. I don't know. It's something they even do with live action movies and TV shows. I think it just kills a fight. If you're gonna do a fight, you need to do it like, you know, either pull back your shots or just edit to where you can see the flow. I don't know. That's maybe nitpicking, but I feel like since we are kind of tackling this from an adaptation standpoint, you know, as well as the show, you know, because we have that prior knowledge being book readers, it's something, you know, I don't want to get too much hanged up on because, you know, it is its own thing at the end of the day. But even from just looking at it as a show and something that, you know, is trying to be viewer friendly or viewer enjoyment, that's still something that, I don't know, maybe it's because I watch a lot, but that just stands out and it just ruins it for me. Now, there is another thing, I guess, besides the information of the status drop, you also get Dix talking about his effects of his spear, which I think all of the stuff we got showcased in this episode, even though some of like the execution was kind of I do like the info that we got and kind of showcasing the characters' I guess struggle or kind of you know, inner stance of where they're taking their ground at. So like for instance with Dix, I think a lot of the information that we got showcased in this episode really does solidify you know, everything we got showcased in Volume 10 that makes him such an interesting character, but not only that, but the best villain, at least, that we've seen in the Danmachi universe, or specifically, you know, the ones that Bella's gone up against. And so I really dig that. There's also a showcase of, you know, expanding upon his bloodline and, you know, how that affected him and why that ultimately led to him doing the things he did to the Xenos and et cetera, right? So I think they tackled that part of the episode really well, and it led me to be relieved on that end that, you know, at least even though some of the fights visually didn't really nail it, at least, you know, at least the characters are feeling, you know, like a threat and something that, you know, Bell's gonna have to watch out for, especially some of the sneaky stuff he throws at in this episode. I guess getting on with it here, again, I even wrote down, it took like 6 minutes really for Bell and Dix to kind of go back to like the fighting. They were just kind of like standing there talking. That's something that's like, I don't know why. Now, okay, probably the biggest part, and again, it has been a long time, right? So, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that in Volume 10, we got to see the introduction of Asteros, where he is, you know, spawned in basically to Rivera, the town in the dungeon, and just absolutely wrecks all of these like level 4s, level 5s, right? You know, you got Shakti, Asif, Aisha and Liu in there, and Asteros just fucking rails them all, right? And that was a fight that was super epic. At least, I don't know, maybe in the book, maybe it's ending up being about the same amount of showcasing, but it was just that, you know, in novel form, it feels like a longer scene. But to me, I think that was something that, again, I kind of understand why they changed it, if it is changed from the books, you know, kind of leaving that, you know, first real hype for, you know, when we see him later, probably in the next episode or the episode after that. But I don't know, to me, I think that was just a perfect opportunity to show that this character means business, and it's almost one of the best introductions of the books. And so, I don't know, I was just really disappointed that we didn't get to see that scene expanded upon at least a little bit. I mean, I understand jumping around, you know, maybe, you know, don't show him, like, saving the Xenos or getting them out of captivity that the Ganesha family had already done, that we got mentioned at the beginning part of the episode. You know, you can, you know, have that be exposition that's just, you know, off camera, right? But the fight, I think, definitely should have been part of it, and it was the biggest disappointment of this episode. Again, correct me if I'm misremembering that scene in the book, but I could have sworn we actually saw at least a chunk of a fight in the book. But after that, we do have some other things that just felt weird. I don't know, again, it's been almost 2 years probably since I've read volume 10, but you know, there's several parts where after, I guess, kind of the initial clash with Bell and Dix, you have Bell just kind of like casually walking after him. And, you know, this kind of transitions into the moment where Dix leads Bell to where he's keeping Ween, and then the events that transpire with that, you know, with Dix ripping out her gem that causes her to go to berserk. And to me in the books, and again, maybe I'm just misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that they're fighting this whole time, and because Dix has such a bigger or larger experience than Bell does as the judge, and he's able to strategically and kind of sneakily lead him while fighting him to this place that he wants. And in the show, it just kind of is like, oh yeah, just let me ramble here and follow me quickly or like casually while we go into this place. And also, you know, walk fast enough to where the door shuts behind you, but walk slow enough that I have time to do damage to the one that you're here to save. I don't know. That's, like, I'm frustrated at that. And I think it's primarily just how they animated it. I don't even think it's, I don't know. Maybe it's just the way they storyboarded it. But again, you know, I don't remember it having that almost dragged out, like, almost, not plot holes, but just like, well, why did the character react this way, or why were they kind of hesitant to react to it? And again, you know, there is excuses that you could justify the scenes, you know, where like, yes, you know, Bell was very injured because of the level difference between Dix. And I think that's even showcased in the book, but we don't really get it. Like, for instance, maybe I'm misremembering this and this came the arc after, but I thought there was a scene in the Bell and Dix fight where Dix lands a punch on like Bell's chest plate head on, and even though his status is lowered from level 5 to level 4, it's enough that not only does it completely shatter Bell's armor, but it's also like he got the wind knocked out of him, and he's like, crap, even though he's only like a level difference than me, that shot would have killed me. And maybe I'm taking that from a different arc, and that's when he was fighting a monster or something, but that was one too that we saw early on, like Dix hit him in the chest, and like it really just like knocked Bell down, but it didn't really do any damage, or at least it didn't seem like it did much damage to Bell. And I was like, gosh, I don't remember it like this at all. So, you know, stuff like that, it could be just nitpicking, right? But to me, it is like just such a disappointment. Now, you do have the moments between Ween and... okay, well, before I go on to that, I will say, one thing that was without a doubt always really well animated, or at least in my mind, like, you know, maybe it's just so epic that it's hard not to be cool, but when Bell lands his Argonaut ability, really appreciate that. And also, I'm glad that they didn't cut out the reasoning why Dix survives that. I won't go over it just because, you know, it's little stuff that you will know if you saw, but do like that they kept that in too, because I feel like in the show, the one biggest gripe outside of, you know, how they adapt the material and stuff like that, I think probably the biggest inconsistency that the show has had, not necessarily the books, is keeping consistent depictions of the level difference and the powers, the power levels associated with the actual levels of the world. In the books, it's done really well, and I think the author does a good job of keeping in line the power scales. But in the show, I don't know, it jumps all over the place to where it's almost like, weird. But like I was about to say, you do get Bell and Ween scenes where Ween is going berserk, and Belle's able to, you know, kind of calm her down in a sense to where kind of stops the berserkingness temporarily. But then, you know, Dick's using, again, one of his illusion spells to mess with Ween enough to where she goes on a rampage, or at least escapes to the city, and Belle going after her and having to basically stand in between her ultimate destruction with Eyes, Loki Familia, and the whole town of Orario in front of him. And I think that part of the episode is probably the best part, and not only that, but my favorite part, because that is such a key part to Belle's character. And I think it really does, like me and Michael said, solidify exactly when Belle becomes hero status. And I love, too, that they kind of highlight that Belle is... You know, this isn't an easy decision for him. Even though this is something that he knows has to be done, even he is reluctant at this point to step in and to save Ween at this point, you know? And I think that's something that, you know, especially highlights just his ability to act and to do the right thing, even though he knows, like, you know, there's a good chance he'll just get wrecked immediately. So I think that part of the material that was covered in this episode was the best done, and I just hope that the really quote-unquote important parts of the fights that we still have left will be better than what we saw in here. Because you got to keep in mind that Dix is, for the most part, out of the picture now. Like, he's probably got like 1 or 2 more scenes, you know, maybe really 2 big moments left, but they're not really dragged out brawls, at least from what I'm remembering. So, yeah, you know, we're going to have some other fights that are going to be just as hype, if not more hype, but I'm just hoping that they're better executed in the rest of the episodes. I will say, though, this was probably my most mixed bag, as you could probably tell. I will not make this any longer because at this point it will probably just rehashing things. But yeah, overall, didn't hate it. I want to make that clear. I didn't hate the episode, and overall I still found things that I thought, you know, the animation studio did well, or that I liked, and even compared to like the last season, it's still better than the last season and how they handled stuff. But I guess it just was pretty obvious to me that this was going to be one of the weaker episodes, even though it should have been, you know, in the top 3 episodes probably. But yeah, guys, again, I'm gonna get out of here so you guys can watch this without, you know, spending a quarter of your day. But you know, I'm still excited to see what's to come. You know, there's still a lot of great moments in the season left, and I'm really excited to see what those are. Again, you know, if you are really interested in trying to figure out, or you know, you're just you know, just blown away by the hype, and either before going in to read Freya or after reading Freya, we will be having the spoiler discussion as soon as possible. Again, just waiting on Michael to get done with his quarantine, and then you know, we'll jump into that and have a good amount to showcase. So plenty of Danmachi yet to come for this year. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna let you go, and let me know what you thought, as well as any questions you might have for a future rapid fire questionnaire. So anyway, we'll talk to you later. Peace.